Hello and welcome to the second Share Project discussion group. Today's topic is food memories, and it soon becomes clear how large a role memories of food and maintenance of food culture traditions play in helping form and sustain our identities and sense of community. In an age of food globalization and increasing fast food ubiquity, will today's juniors be able to experience the same rich resonances and memories of culinary diversity when they become seniors?
Hi, I'm Michael, and I'd like to ask you what your experience through your life has been in relation to food and how your food habits and your food experiences have changed over the few years you've been around.
Well, I've become much more conscious about my health. I remember when I was younger, I just didn't... Well, my mum and dad used to give us pocket money and we just used to spend it in the sweet shop in the corner. Crisps, Kit Kats. But, we had mainly Turkish food at home. My mum cooked Turkish food. And then school dinners. I remember the mashed potatoes and what else? Can't remember. I just remember the lumpy mashed potatoes.
What were the desserts like?
I used to like the dessert. Actually, there was this dessert which I particularly liked, and I can't remember what it was called. It was served with ice cream. It was like a wafer. Do any of you remember that? No? Can't remember what it was called.
No, I
And there were
semolina and sago pudding.
semolina. I quite like that.
Did you like it because it was healthy, because it was different?
School dinners.
Yeah.
I didn't, like school dinners per se, but I liked some things that they used to give quite often, like this particular dessert.
What did you have for Sunday lunch?
My mum always cooked potatoes in the oven and chicken in the oven. And I'm a vegetarian now, so obviously I don't eat meat anymore, but I did when I was younger. And she made lots of pastry dishes, which is very Cypriot, Turkish Cypriot.
And did you go to supermarkets or where did you buy food?
Supermarkets, sure. They didn't have, nowadays they've got these Turkish grocers everywhere. I think they've been taken over by Turks. But before it was just, just Tesco's and just one or two supermarkets, really. There
So you
wasn't
didn't
the
go
choice.
to the market? You didn't?
Oh, yes, we did actually. My dad used to take us to Ridley Road Market. Does anybody remember?
Oh, yeah.
Is that still around?
The Turkish food store.
Well,
Or
no,
just the
they
market?
didn't have that
Yeah,
in those
they didn't
days.
have
They
that.
just had the market, and I think it was much smaller. I remember sort of walking around. My dad would try to get the best deal,
Was it very English, or were there a lot of West Indian and Asian stall holders in those days? Or was it all cabbage and potatoes?
I'm trying to remember. It was more English, I think, than it is now. Definitely more English than it is now. Does anybody else agree?
Yeah. Well, it's not very English now. English, whatever.
Yeah. No, it was definitely more. The stall holders were mainly white. I remember that.
So how
Yeah.
did your mother cope with having to make Turkish food but with English vegetables?
Oh, I don't think vegetables, it mattered very much, whether... What do you mean? Well, she used the same vegetables.
Well, now you can buy practically every vegetable
Yeah.
known to humanity. But
Okay. I don't know. She mainly made pastry dishes, not a lot of vegetable dishes actually. She made lots of kind of pastry dishes filled with cheese and things like that. A lot of carbohydrates, which I try to avoid these days.
When did you become a vegetarian?
Oh, well, it's nearly 30 years ago.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah, long time ago, yeah. I just, decided not to eat.
And
meat
could you
anymore.
get vegetarian meals if you went to a restaurant or cafe in those days?
In those days, it was, of course, much more difficult than nowadays. And when I used to tell people that I was vegetarian, they would immediately get defensive and ask me, but why? And they took it as an affront, as if I was insulting their way of life, whereas nowadays it's much more accepted. And it was much more difficult, to find vegetarian food in those days.
What about your experience, Barbara?
Yeah, well, I grew up in South Africa, but pretty much had a sort of, I suppose, English kind of diet of things like spaghetti bolognese or I'm Jewish, but we used to have we had a tradition in the family which is not uncommon and similar to Catholics. So we'd have fish every Friday night, so that was standard on the menu. We didn't have school dinners, so I'd take sandwiches to school every day. And I remember one of my mother's favourite kind of sandwiches when she ran out of inspiration or anything more interesting was she would give us Marmite with lettuce on brown. The brown bread there was fantastic. There was a kind of the whole wheat bread in South Africa is fabulous. So, which is that's an abiding memory of mine, is those sandwiches with Marmite and lettuce when my mum ran out of something better to give us. But it was it makes a very good sandwich. So.
What were the big differences between what you ate or the food you had there and when you came to England?
Well, not a lot, except we didn't, like my dad, we didn't eat things with garlic. Like my dad didn't eat garlic, and so it was a much more limited sort of repertoire of food. Mm-hmm. Sort of, roast chicken or roast on Sunday. Yeah, we had a kind of, and then Monday you'd probably have something that was made with the leftover of the roast, and Tuesday. So essentially, when I got here, then I was an adult. Then I could choose what to eat for myself, and like everyone, I started trying different things and expanding what I ate. And, but I mean, essentially the food I ate there was kind of English food. And the sort of Jewish aspect wasn't very predominant. Like there's a few Jewish dishes, like on Passover, which is Pesach there. So there's where you don't eat anything that's risen. So you can't eat bread. So you have something called matzah, and then they're traditional dishes as well. I mean, lots of the festivals have traditional dishes with them, but Passover has. I think it has things like my mother used to make a kind of carrot sweet, which is pretty disgusting. Mm-hmm. So I can't remember all of them actually, but yeah, there's a whole lot of traditional food associated with the different Jewish festivals. We didn't go too big on that really.
Do you think there was a lot of the same amount of obesity that there is today? Because you're both describing quite heavy diets. Was there less obesity, and if in that case was just because there was less money to buy big quantities of food, or because it wasn't industrial, it was all homemade? What?
Yeah, I think there was less obesity. I remember the days before McDonald's, really. I can't remember much fast food being around, do you?
Yeah, I think I can't.
I mean, as I said, I used to buy sweets and crisps every day, but I wasn't used to going into McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken, or I can't remember which year I started getting McDonald's here. But
So why would
Yeah.
you think that there are more fat people nowadays than when you're young days?
Well, it's an interesting question. That it's a puzzle actually, because although just looking at they're looking at the medical research, it's all about that we eat more than we move, basically. But and then there's a lot of snacking. But then, as Kay said, there was quite a lot of snacking going on then as well. I mean, it wasn't, but I think maybe just, I don't know if people have larger quantities, they snack more, there's so many accessible foods. But I mean, there were packets of crisps then, and there were packets of sweets then, so I don't...
actually, it is a puzzle.
It is,
because
yeah.
I remember it was very usual for us to, get home and put on fish fingers, and which isn't very healthy, is it? And it's processed food. We ate a lot of processed food, apart from my mum's cooking. But nowadays,
But what I'm picking up
Yeah.
is that you had a lot of home cooking, whereas now people go to a supermarket and they buy instant meals. Do you?
Well, I don't, but...
I don't either. But there is a lot of that around, really, a lot of that.
If you had to say what your top 5 childhood sweet treats were, using the old names, what would they be?
What do you mean using the old name?
Well, opal fruits or
Well, there was that thing which is still around a bit, Sherbet Fountain, which had a licorice a licorice sort of stem, a licorice straw that you could supposedly suck out the sherbet with, but you couldn't really. But you could dip it in and lick it.
I don't remember that. I used to like milk bottles. Do
What's
you
a
remember
milk bottle?
Do you not remember the milk bottles? Do you remember those?
I know what they are.
They were very
I do.
milk bottle, tiny ones. I used to just suck on them.
They're
They were
little
so
kind
nice.
of gummy
Yeah,
chewy
nice.
things in a pale white colour, aren't they? Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you remember.
Wine gums.
Wine gums,
Yeah, wine
love wine
gums,
gums. Especially the black and the green
yeah.
ones,
The
because they're
black
sour.
Yes,
Yeah,
not the green ones. I like
not
the black
green
ones.
ones.
The black ones,
I
definitely.
know, I like the green ones too.
We used to give away the green ones.
So you weren't opal fruit fans then?
No, I like opal fruits as well.
And what are they called now?
Are they called something else?
I think so.
Really?
They've all been rebranded and called something else.
Okay.
What about your favourite chocolate bar?
Well, I was quite faithful and still am to Kit Kat.
Yeah, the ones of fruit.
Well, I didn't like Cadbury's, so anything other than anything but Cadbury's. Really.
Do you remember that advert? Toblerone, Torito. You don't remember that?
They were really exotic.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
only
yeah,
arrived
yeah.
in the 70s?
Road, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know, but they were. I remember when they were kind of exotic and foreign and
The Ferrero Rocher of the day. Yes. Presents.
now they're obviously everywhere. But it's still pretty good at Toblerone, apart from the fact that my teeth aren't up for the sticky kind of nougat, the hard nougat bit of it.